Yes, people, how you all doing? Rock's Original here. So I've got this wonky old slab, and I'm gonna make some chopboards out of it and a table. So we're gonna start off just by just cutting it in half, shaping it up, working out what I'm gonna do. And as you can see, that you see how bowed it is at the that corner. This has got lumps and bumps, twists and cups. It's a really awkward little slab. It needs planing and put through the planer on a sled, or maybe go over it with a rat sled. But I'm going to use just a jigsaw and a sander and a grinder. Let's crack on. Hello and welcome. So I did kind of lie a little bit. I am using a circular saw or a track saw, but you can do this with a jigsaw. You can cut it down the middle with a jigsaw. It's no problem, and you can still use a straight edge. But I'm just using a track saw for my own purposes. But we're going to cut the slab in half. I'm going to use one side to make some chopboards, and I'm going to use the other side to make the table. So I've just basically got them in half. I'm going to pencil out some lines and work out what I'm going to use for the chopboards. And then I'm going to mark the other side for the side table. Yeah, please bear in mind that this is rough cut timber and it has not yet been through the planer, which is what this video is all about. Just showing you how you can still make a nice flat table on the top and the bottom without having to put it through a planer or using a router sled. Yeah, I think that'd be better that way. I'm not using too much epoxy up. Yeah, that's that done. Okay, so on this occasion, I'm not going to use any planers or router sleds or skip planing it, putting it through the thicknesser. I'm strictly just going to use the grinder and the sander. And we've already used the jigsaw, so that's it now for that. So I'm just going to grind it down as best as I can, get it relatively flat and ready and prepped, sanded for the form. And then we should be good to go to start decorating our table and doing a couple of chopboards. So let's crack on. I must point out this little angle grinder that I'm using, it's not a Makita, it's actually made for Makita batteries, if you know what I mean. But that makes it not really that powerful, but this is perfect for this kind of application, especially if you want to have more control. So yeah, this is what I recommend. Only about 25 quid, something like that, eBay. And just keep checking it. There is still a very big dip here, so I'm not going to worry about that. But remember I said about I cut into the live edge, so I will shape that up now. Now this don't have to be perfect. You can see how roughly I'm doing it. I'm just got it in my hand doing it. But I'm going to blacken that with a blowtorch just to get that bark effect back. That's like, it's called faking the live edge. But in this case, it is an actual live edge. But so this is the important bit when you're shaping the bit that's going to go in the form. So I'll get this one here. Again, always use what you got. Look, it's easy. Bosh. So any other time, bear in mind, I would use a flush trim out a bit. I would have had a circle template on the underneath, like a bit of plywood, as my reference to the circle silicone form, silicone mould, should I say. And I would have used that. I would have had a nice uniformed edge, so therefore I wouldn't have had a lot of sanding to do on the edge afterwards. But this is totally fine to do it this way. Obviously try and get it as perfect as possible so it fits in the mould, but if it's not perfect then that's not a problem. We can always tidy it up after we demould it. Right, so I just went over the tops of them. As you can see, I've done both the sides, and while I was there with the grinder there was like a little hump, a major hump. I just took that out and then just faded it in and got it relatively flat. It's still bumpy and bowed, but while you're there, if you have got a grinder and a flat disc, that is ideal. But it just means you'd be there longer with a sander doing it with a 40 grit disc. But I am gonna sand it with a 40 grit now. Now, although you see me just going like that, gouging it out like to the side, you are supposed to sand flat, but there is sometimes, it does call for you to do that. You can get away with it. So you can just sort of gouge it and then just go back in with it again and then go around the outside and just fade it back in and out. So yeah, you can do that when you've got really aggressive grinder marks on there. So these are the alcohol and pigments I'm going to use. Some midnight blue, white pearl, got some blue glitter, some sparkle oat brawn, and I've got the black. Let's start off with the black. Put some midnight blue in it, brawn, and some white pearl. Oh, look at that. Right, let's do a little bit of work on it with a bit of spray, see what effect we can get. Because in a minute, when we lay the slabs in, it's going to squidge out. So all that in the middle is going to change. I didn't want it too mad. Just wanted to lightly go in. I only used a couple of colours, mind. It will change slightly again. See, I might even go with a different idea tomorrow. I might start putting some sand at these front bits and then add flowers. Nice. Okay, so it's been 24 hours. I've just pulled out a few random bits. I've got some of them like wheat stalks and that, some dried flowers, some of that potpourri. I might mix it up a bit. I might put some shells in, maybe a few of them pine cones. Yeah, we'll see. Just going to start off with some of these, just get a few in there, just to sort of get a shape, which way I want to go. Okay, so if you look here now, can you see how the resin, some parts is higher and some parts are lower? Well, that's because of the higher spots on the slab, and on the other side, this was a very awkward little slab. It was twisted, it was bowed, it had higher spots, certain spots were lower, certain spots were higher. It was just like, it needed a router sled on both sides basically, or to be skip planed both sides. But because we're doing it with the sander, this is what we have to go through. But it's no problem, it's just a little, takes longer, but it's well achievable with like basic tools and sanders. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grind these high spots down now and get them as relatively level as possible for the next pour of resin. So yeah, let's crack on with that and see where we go.
I will take a bit more just here, from this bit here.
See, that's got to come off and all this epoxy there, because it wasn't completely spot on. Alright, I'll tell you what, let's just deal with it now. And there is your flat surface, completely flat, because the epoxy is filled in the bits that was uneven. Alright, there's a couple of holes there, but just filled in with epoxy. It wouldn't matter anyway. But you attach some legs there, and there. Might be able to, yeah, I should be able to put two either side, you know. Bosh, yeah, maybe. But yeah, main thing is you've got your flat base. This part can be done with a 40 grit disc on a orbital sander, or a normal sander, whichever you got. So yeah, don't fret about that. Just take a little bit longer. I'm just using it. I'm basically going to get it down to the point where there's still a little bit of epoxy left, and then I'm going to go around it with the 40 grit on the orbital. Don't want to take too much off because I start going into the wood, but we'll go around it after with the sander. So leave that with me. I'm going to tidy all this up and come back to you when I've got the orbital sander in hand. See you in a minute. So this is basically what you're going to be left with, but we're going to tidy all these up now with the orbital sander. Right, let's have a little spray up, see what it looks like. Yeah, it's alright. No pigtails or swell marks on the wood. Yeah, cushy. Right, so I've just mixed up a small batch of 300 milligrams. It's a shame I've got to sellotape it because I'd like to go over the sides. But really I want to fill it up and then go over it with a round over. It don't look right anyway, it's best to fill it up and then go around the whole lot with a round over. Don't want to go too mad, just want to just get it coated. Just so it's ready for when you do the pour. So yeah man, this is going to look wicked. So I'm just going to wait for it to set. We're going to pull the tape off. We're going to round over our edges, give it a sand, get it all nice and curvy, and then we're going to start pouring our first few coats of resin. Basically all you're doing when you do the sander, you're just tilting it like that. Just tilt it and go around it and just get it curved like that. And then the epoxy will flow over it nicely, because if you've got like say like it's cut and it's got like it's very sharp, when you come to sand it and polish it, you're just going to polish that sand that epoxy off, because it's like a weak spot. Like obviously there's no epoxy that can really stay on there, so as soon as you touch that with a sander it's gone again and you're just going to have wood. So that's why you should round it over, unless you're not going to sand it, that is, and polish it like some people do. Do you know what I mean? You can do that, but you've got to make sure you've got right good epoxy and you've got good temperature. Mainly like if you do that indoors when there's no dust at all and you cover it up straight away, you can get away with that, but not in a dusty shed. So let's crack on. Okay, so this is pretty much what you want to be left with. Let me just give it a spray up. So this is what it will look like when the epoxy goes on it and it all drips over. And get that nice rounded edge now. Yeah, tell you what man, for not using a circle jig or anything and just using a jigsaw and a sander, I think I've got that pretty damn close for a circle. Alright, I know it was in that silicone mould, but if you remember, it didn't properly fit in the mould, did it? The epoxy run around the sides. But if anyone looked at this, they couldn't pick holes in it. I could pick holes in it because I made it, and I'm critical of my own work anyway. But anyone looking at it, they wouldn't pick holes and go, oh, it's not a perfect circle. But yeah, let's see what it looks like once the epoxy's drenched all over it. Okay people, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and these slabs here are going to be used in my up and coming project, which will be my dining table I'm going to be making for my new place, and I'll probably do a coffee table to match. And I've also got a project with some live edge slabs that will go on the ceiling with some industrial lighting. So yeah, stay tuned for them. Got some exciting projects. Look at them, look. Spotted sycamore and horse chestnut, those slabs are. Them two there are sycamore, and they're going to be the two that I'm probably going to use for the dining table. That big oak's already been used. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So until then, take care, good health to you all, and be lucky.